Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to share my moonshot today. And a brief introduction about myself. I'm Langston, PhD candidate in chemical engineering. And today we are at SoftWorks. So we are at SoftWorks to look for innovations. And throughout the course of human history, actually there are a very large amount of significant innovation that bring improvement to health. For example, vaccine. For example, the change in the discovery of new drug molecules, new imaging methods, and new diagnostic tools that helps point out the disease and bring new treatment method. So today we are going to address another key problem, which is needles. So actually, my grandfather was advised to receive needle treatment, but he refused to do it. And he's actually a tough guy. Survived the war, very muscular, healthy. But when the doctors ask him to receive needle treatment, he just go panic and yell at the doctor, say, "I will never get that kind of treatment." So needles is the problem that we are trying to address. And why my grandfather wasn't convinced to get the treatment, so I'm going to show you the next picture is quite intimidating, so be prepared. So this is the actual treatment that my grandfather was told to receive. Having a needle punching through your eyeball just to treat the retinal disease. So retinal disease is actually the disease that happen in the back, inside your eye. It's hard to get the drugs by eye drops, so doctors have to punch the needle through it to get the drugs in. And this problem is actually huge. We are talking about more than 100 million people worldwide suffering from these type of diseases and have to receive this horrible treatment. So I would want to highlight three top diseases that requires that needle treatment. So the first one is diabetic retinopathy, which primarily affects the diabetic population. And other one I want to highlight will be the wet AMD, age-related macular degeneration, which usually affects the aging people. So when we look into the geographic distribution, this problem is actually widespread. When I want to highlight the population of the diabetic retinopathy patients, you can see that actually in US, in China, and in India, the number is very high. We are talking about 8 million to 42 million patients have to do this treatment monthly. And in Hong Kong, there are actually around 200K of patients having diabetic retinopathy and need to receive that horrible treatment every month. So we want to stop this, and our innovation aims to change that. So let me introduce to you a non-invasive and painless solution. We deliver the drugs not by needles, but by sound. So let me introduce you the ultrasonic ocular drug delivery system. So we deliver the drugs into the eye using ultrasound. This is the invention invented by my supervisor, Professor Ying Chao, and I worked closely with him in the past 6 years to develop the technology. So first, let me introduce you the three key features of the technology and the radical solution. It is proven safe. It's also proven efficient process comparable to injections, and it is complication-free. This is a very important feature of our innovation based on the studies that we have in the animal studies, which later on I will walk you through. And there are some important product attributes that I want to highlight, because I mentioned we deliver the drugs by sound instead of needles. So there's one important component in our product, which I've brought with myself, the first prototype. So you can see that the top part will be the drug applicator, which is highlighted in the point number 1, which will be used to hold the drugs. And then we deliver the drugs by sound, so the drug applicator is actually sitting at the back. With the emission of ultrasound, the drugs will permeate into the eye. So these two will be the two important product attributes that realize the technology and realize the innovation. And the treatment procedure is very simple. So first, doctors will have to load the drugs to the applicator, and then we will adjust the device to touching the white part of the eye, the sclera, which I tried it myself. I literally don't feel a thing when it touch upon my white part of the eye. And in the real clinical settings, doctors will apply aesthetics to the eye so that the sensation will be even minimized. We don't feel pressure at all. And then after adjustment, then we will apply ultrasound, and the treatment will be then complete. Drugs go into the eye, reaching the retina, and then the treatment can be completed. So this is the picture of myself, which is recently taken, using the prototype that I just showed you, and touching the white part of my eye. So I don't have any eye reddening symptoms, no inflammation, and no irritating sensation. So I personally tried it on myself, and I think the pressure, I really can't feel it until someone really say you are applying a device on your eye. And this, as I mentioned, is based on 8 years of research. So you may wonder why ultrasound, it has been out there for a long time, for imaging, for baby scanning, why is this a breakthrough technology? So I want to take this point to clarify and to explain a bit. The ultrasound that we are using is a rather low energy and low intensity ultrasound. It's drastically different from the ultrasound regime used for imaging. Because I think some of you might have experienced ultrasound scanning, you might feel some warming kind of sensation when you do the scanning, which in our case, we won't feel that kind of warming effect. The reason I have mentioned the low energy feature is because we want to minimize the violent ultrasound effect to exert damage on the tissue. We want to avoid that. So that's why we have spent 8 years to really fine-tune to find out which is the best ultrasound regime. And then we have proven feasible and safe in a rather large-scale animal study. Basically, we check the visual functions of the animals, the rabbits, before and after the treatment to see whether they see things differently and whether we observe some changes in their eye tissue, and we see none. So that's why we are confident to say this technology is feasible and can be realized based on the ultrasound regime that we have chosen. So have this in mind with this innovation. Our vision is actually very simple. We just want that 100 million patients can receive treatment using a new method, which is complication-free and painless. So with this vision in mind, we have achieved the first critical milestones, which is to demonstrate that the technology is effective. So the next key milestones is to get approved by the regulatory bodies. For example, US FDA and the European CE mark. And then the next key milestones will be making this technology affordable so that not just in developed countries, but also in developing countries, people can receive treatment with sound, but not the horrible needles. So to achieve all these milestones, we have to get the technology, get the innovation into the health system. We often see a lot of health innovation in the media. For example, we see how the gene therapy might be a promising tool to help treating some rare disease, some new discovery of the drug molecules, but we often see them in the news, but rarely goes into the health system. One reason is that getting new healthcare innovation into the system is a highly regulated process. So we are aiming to change this and overcome all the regulatory hurdles. That's why our challenge, in order to get approval from the regulatory bodies, we are thinking how might we engage with clinical trial centers and also with the contract research organization to recruit volunteers for the clinical trials. Because as I mentioned, if you look into our product development, we have already demonstrated certain tractions in the animal trials. So the next step will be to demonstrate it is safe to use in the human subjects. So this will be another critical steps, and this is the challenge that we want to put forth and to brainstorm together and address a feasible solution so that we can get through the regulatory hurdles in an efficient way, so we can roll out the product to the market, and eventually more and more people, including my grandfather, will be able to treat the disease. So this is the end of my moonshot presentation. Thank you.